Maria Hoiki Molele a Tonga toa kwa Pataha Mole Jo FM 102.5 Pepe Poki live stream Broadcom FM broadcasting me titi square do Nuku'alofa ko aho po mama lahi o molele fokata mai wanoa watolu tamu a po mama lahi ko molele fokata mai ko tonu ai tangata palukfua. Celebrating the power of community kindness,
Tapu moe na afifio si astupo wono, mo kwini na naspau umhona fale. Tapu moe eik palemia, moe ne kau eik minista mo fafofonga fale alea. Ato e whakatapu ki he fafofonga falalanglangi o ahoni, Dr. Anup Kurung, ko e whafofonga me kau taha moia mamani ki Tonga. Pehe fo ki he whafofonga me tifeti, Miss Shelley Thompson. O kuata e whatap mawahe ki he whaifekau o Olita o Vaiola, Reverend Daniela Tamo'ua. Pehe fo ki he haataki lotu. O ku ata e whatap mawahe ki a tek motor kotoa pe, kau whafofonga pule whawahe o fisa kolo, pe foki ki he kau taki ngā ue, me ngahi ngā ue a ngā Tonga. Atu ai whatap koe ni ki he nesi pule o pot ngā ue mo ui, Sista Meleinu Felice, pe foki ki he pule leo leo wa ngā ue ki tua, ai pot ngā mo ui. Pe aku whatapu atu ki he sola moe vulangi, pe foki si e tau whanau, o tau kau whataha pongpongini, i hono whakamanatua ko ia, o e aho whamanatu whamamalahi, o e mo uilelei whakaiata mai, pe iloa whapapalangi ko e Mental Health Day. Ko kole peke hufanga atu he ngai tala whakatapu ko atu, kai ata mo e whine motu atu ani ke tongia e whatongia, ko e whakatau kei o e polo kalama ki he aho ni. Ko e ki o atu pe ki whamatala lau ko e tau polkalama aho ni na iai pe ki liliu. Ko hina iai pe whakaamu ke tau kau whakataha heni mo i minista leo leo ai pot ngā mo ui. Ko e whawhalanglangi, kau tau fia pe mo whawhetai ko hi ko e tali lelei e he whafofonga ko ia me kau taha mo ia mamani. Dr. Anup Kurung ai whatongia ko ia ke ne hoko ko e whawhalanglangi. For the non-Tongan speakers, I would just like to inform you that there have been some changes to our program, as we have been hoping that we could be here today with the Acting Minister for Health, but due to some circumstances, he cannot be here with us. But we are grateful that Dr. Anup Kurung from the World Health Organization, our country liaison officer in Tonga, is humble enough to be our guest of honor. Hei kai te toe whaloloa, ka te tau whaipe whatatau ke polkalama ko ia ko tuku atu. Pea te ukole pe mo whawhei ai whaiwhekau ko ia Olita Vaiola, Reverend Daniela Tamo'ua, ke ne kātaki o tataki ki tau tolu i he lotu.
I hua whātau e ki ko sisu kalaisi, ko i ai pe, he oku te whito ki ai, pe oku fōu ai, pe a iku ki ai, ai mea ko toa pe, o e univers ko eni. O e wahe atu pe, pe au whakamalu he tala whakatapu ko a whaki, kau tala ngofua ki hoku whekau. Ke ta taki e tau lotu, a ke e tau whakalaulau loto ki he mahu inga o e ahoni. Iai e whakalotolahi na e whai he apostolo ko Paula ki he kāinga lotu i Korinto. Ko e hiwa o e wahe, e iai e ngāhi lea lelei. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one get the prize. Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get the crown that will not last. But we do it to get the crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Koe whakawhiangai o e ahoni whakotu mai pē, ai whakalaulau loto maheni koe ni ke tau whakalaulau loto aki, ki he mahu inga o e ahoni. Koe ia whoki, a pau kuia kalaisi a taha koe mātua ki whakatupu fo o ia. Koe ia kua mōre ai ngahi mea ono a hope kua tau hoko koe koto fo o. Koe ia koe kau whakafofonga ki mau tolu o kalaisi. Tō kua koe otua ia o koe ki naki a te ki mau tolu koe mau kore eni o ku whai koe whetongi o kalaisi. Tū ke whai ho mō whakalelei pia moe otua. Pia ke tau hiwa a ki mua e huafa koe ia. Pia te utataki atua e tau lotu. O i ke utala o kumanu ku o te whetai e ki ho maulau maari e. Ko sisu kalaisi ai huafa, koe huafa lahi ia. Kai hanoua, kai hataha e tatau, kai hataha e kākunga. Io e kuone wholofola mai ko au pē. Ko au pē ai hala, ko au pē ai mo ni pē, ko au pē ai mo ui. Ko au whetai e whainga maari e monu i ai e ki whanua si mo vai vai koen. Kei viringi a hono whoka. Ia ku kei tuu e tuu ngā u kei mau pē palo mesi. A whetai u kei lā koi fie lele e tamatu i po ono. A mai tahine kuini. E tama plinis kalauni ka mai ka hau e ki whanua koen. Kei whonga ola mea ko tō pē ko hui koe whakataulama lele. Ai whē he ko mau tauhia e a whiona ko koe e makatu u whakamo ui anga. Mau unga ki ai he ngahi aho ko tō pē. O e mau pue o ku whai he mo ui koen. O e honi kua whai e ui aki he patunga e mo ui o Tonga. O e pure anga ko uhi ke mau whakamaho i ngā i ki nau tolu ko toa pē. O moua tāmaki he ngahi whai ngata ke he ko toa pē o e mo ui. He mea o e sino. Ata mai mo e lau maari e. Mau kau whakatahai pia mo e whakafofonga. O e kautaha mo ui a mamani. Tō ke tā anop korang. E a behe whoki he skeitari Shelley Thompson. O e koloa le reo e ahoni ko e mau whakawhetai whakataha pe mo e tōke tā tūkia. O hi ke ave le lei ho mau whatongi a mo e tūwhakanga ko ke omi ka te ki mau tolu. A ki nau tolu ku lava mai ke mau whakalang langi e ahoni pe mo hua wha. He ko koe lava anga o e whatongi a ko tō peo ku wheia he ki i whanua si mo vai vai koen. Tō ngā whanua monu ia e ku mau otua a ki pēa si hova. mau e koloa mahu inga koe lotu, whakawholofola. Tau kau mo koe he ka mataanga o e polokalama koe ni. E ke whai melangina ha mau tāpu aki. E tāpu aki mau tolu ko toa bebe mo e whonua. O e lotu ia mo e kore mo e huoku mau whai e siso klaisi ko ho alo. Aia nā ke ako mai ka mau ka lotu peke mau behe. O e mau tamai e kui he vani. A o huafa. E hoko mai ho pure, whai o whinangala. Ange he koe he langi ke behe whoki mamani. Ko aki mai a honi ha mau mea kai ki anai. Whakamore more mau ngahi ang hala. Ange koe mau whakamore more aki nau tolu fua be mo a mai. E o nā ke tua ki mau tolu ke hai ahi. Pahau ki mau tolu me whiri. O o wai pure mo e malo. Mo e kolori a ta ngata pe ta ngata. Amen. Amen.
Whamalo atu ki he tangata e ki whaiwhekau i he lotulele i koia kua kamata ke tau polokalama e ahoni. Ka e hoko atu ki he e tau lea hoko. O kua whakawhi i he ni a e pule leo leo. Pa angawe ki tu a e pot ngawe mo ui tok ta o whatukia. Kene whahoko e lea talitali. Mo atu a e pui pui tua. O e mahu inga o e aho o tau whamana tua i ahoni. Malo.
Tap ke a whio a tua mawhi o tau lotonga. Tap ke he whakawhalanglangi. Pako kore whakamore pe mua ke u whakamalumalo atu i he tala whakatap kakato. Ko kamata ake ai polokalamani. Kai ata ke u whakahoko atu ai lea taritali. Pea pehe ki ha pui pui tua o e polokalama mahu inga. O ku hingai ai tau whakataha mai i he ahoni. I am honored to deliver the welcoming remarks for this very important occasion to mark the commemoration of the World Mental Health Day for this year 2023 here in the Kingdom of Tonga. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Almighty in our midst. Today would not have been possible without His constant blessings and guidance to proceed successfully with today's event as planned. I am indeed privileged to extend a warm welcome to the guest of honor, the World Health Organization Country Liaison Officer to Tonga, Dr. Anup Kurung, who graciously accepted our invitation to be our guest of honor for today's event. Words cannot express my sincere gratefulness and appreciation of your kindness and gracing this important occasion with your presence here today. The WHO has been leading a lot of mental health initiatives in Tonga, including the development of the mental health policy, and so many other programs to mention. And that's why your presence here has added an extra spark to this event and made it even more special. I also wish to welcome the First Secretary for Health DFID from the Australian High Commission in Tonga, Ms. Shelley Thompson, who is here with us today. Mrs. Thompson, your presence today reflects the full support and commitment of the Government of Australia through DFID to assist the Ministry of Health in addressing mental health and other aspects of our health development. And I am confident that you will provide valuable insights and perspectives on today's event and its theme. O ko whiawhia whoki ke tautalelea tangata eiki whaiwhekau, Reverend Daniela Tāmoua. O ki kaipuri ai where mo whawhaho ngāhi whatongia, ka ko tali lelei ke kau mai ke ki polkalama o e pongpongini. O whaiho mau whakoloa i he wholofola, pa mo i lotu lelei kua whakahoko. O mau tautari ai koe, pa mo i lotu hounga ia. O pehe whoki ai tautai lelei o e pulenesi si sta mele inu Felice, malo e tautai lelei ai whakawhe pa mo i poupou mai ke polokalama whakamanatua o e ahon. Pehe whoki ai tautai lelei ki mautola e kau whakawhe, ko toa pe tau kau whakataha i he ahoni, pa mok mautolu ko toa pe i he ngalu ope. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We are truly honored to have you all here with us. I would also like to extend a very special welcome to the Principal, Mrs. Kuluka, and the students of the Government Middle School of Kolomotua, with my humble and sincere appreciation for accepting our invitation to take part in today's event. Guests of honor and invited guests, GMS Kolomotua is one of the health promoting schools or Abiako Ma'alahi that have accredited with gold standard and was chosen to showcase the success of the health promoting school project at the Pacific Health Ministers meeting that recently held here in Tonga in the past few weeks. Let's give a round of applause to welcome the principal and the student of GMS Kolomotua. Just a very brief overview of today's event. We are here to celebrate the World Mental Health Day. Every year, the 10th of October, Tonga joins other countries in the world in celebrating this important event. This is a very worthy opportunity to discuss and address issues related to mental health at national and international levels. This year's theme, mental health is an universal human right. This theme recognizes that mental health is a human right issue, and there is need to strengthen the current effort in addressing mental health here in the Kingdom. We must raise awareness about this issue and work together as a family, a community, and a nation so that everyone, no matter what, receives the highest attainable standards of mental health care and support. This global theme is not new, and its purpose is straightforward. And in order to achieve such rights, the Ministry of Health contextualized the global theme to match with the local situation of mental health here in Tonga. So our national theme, the power of community kindness on mental health. The national theme is very significant and culturally appropriate to our Tongan society. Nofo akainga, or community kindness, is so powerful to address the issue of stigmatization and discrimination of mental health and illnesses, which remains a big issue here in Tonga. Because of that, people are suffering behind closed doors of their homes, unable to seek help because they are scared of society's opinion of them and how they will be made to feel less than others. To combat this reproach, the power of nofo akainga, or community kindness, can break down those barriers, allowing those who suffered to come forward and receive the medical help and support they need as early as possible. That's the power of community kindness, which is the focus of this 1 week commemoration of the World Mental Health Day here in Tonga. Guest of honor, please allow me to continue the remaining part of my speech in Tongan for the sake of our locals who are here with us and those who are listening on air, as they are the target audience of today's event. Hange koe whakatau kei na whakahauko he MC o tau iheni, ke whakailonga i ai aho whakamaman lahi o mo uilelei ai atamai. Pa koe kaweinga kua tuku mai ki he tauni, mental health is an universal human right. O kuiai ai to tonu, ai toko taha ko toa pe, ki he mo uilelei ai atamai. Koe kawengani o ku ikai ke fo'ou, pe aku mahino au pito pe ahono tau mua. O whakauhinga e kau taha mo ui a mamani ai mental health, pe koe mo uilelei ai atamai, koe tuunga mo uilelei o hataha ke ne malawa o matu uaki, ai ngahi whakawheatungia o e mo ui. Ilo iho no iwi malawa, ako, pe ake ngā welelei aki, ke tokoni ki hono community. Pe koe toko taha ko toa pe o tatawai pepe koe hae wheituu, pa moi matakari o kau ki ai, o ku iai ai e nau totonu ke nau maua e toka ngai kina maalunga taha ki he mo uilelei, ai atamai, pe ai he taimita, ke mo uilelei ai atamai, pa i he taimita tau, o ku iai ai e nau totonu ke nau nofo tau ataina, mo tari lelei ki nau tolu i he society. Kai kehe o mahino pa me he ngahi ripoti ai potu ngawe mo ui pa pehe ke ngahi fika whakamaman lahi. O ku alu pe ke lahi ange ai ngahi palapalema whaka atamai o ku mo utamaki ai au tau kakai. Pe aku mahino ku ikai koe whakatupunga pe e whai to'o kona tapu pa mo ngahi kemikare kona kehe. Ka aku iai pe pa mo ngahi mea kehe i halafononga o e mo ui. O ku malawa ke ne uesia ai atamai pa mo i whakakaukau. Pa au kau heni, ai ngahi palapalema he nofo api, mo loto whale o i ngahi whamiri, ngahi palapalema whakasosiale i he ngāwe anga, pe koe siasi mo i nofo ai kolo. Ko ngahi palapalema ko eni, o ku ne malawa ke whakatupunga ai kulukia, stress, pa mo i loto tau mia, depression. Pe ka pau e ikai ke whakatonga i lelei ke whai hatokoni ke taimi, pa e tātāna ke mau ko ia o nā wiku ai ki he whare whakalelei atamai ai potu ngā ue mo ui. O whāfuafua au laka hake he wae wā, o nau tolo o kuesia whakaatamai i māmani pe a pehepe ki tongani, o ku ikai ke nau mao ai tokoni whakawhai to'o pe whakawhea au loto o totonu ke nau mao. Pa koe mātu o ngaia a hono whakotuu o e kawe inga ki he tauni, ke whakamanatu ke ngahi whonua, koe toko taha ko toa pe, o ku iai a ene totonu, ke he mo uilelei ai atamai, pa mo ngahi ngāue ko toa pe ku whakatau mua ki ai. Kai kehe, ke ausia e ngahi totonu ko ia, ko hangai he potu ngāue mo ui o tānaki mai pa mo hakii kawe inga whakaloto whonua, ke lango pe ke kawe inga whakamaman lahi. Ko e fuuiwi o ianga ofa i he nofo a kāinga, pa mo uilelei o e atamai. The power of community kindness on mental health. O osa mahino au pito e tuunga hano whakaalu mai, pe whakawhai ke hei ai palapalema ko ini i o tau whonua. Pe au kaunga lahia ki hono whakatupunga ai alu ke lahia nge ai whika, o nau tolu, o nau mo ua i he whai ngataan. O kuhanga e he whakaalu manuki, mo e whakawhai ke he, o whakatupunga ai ko i rifia, pa mo i whaingata a ke aski mo ai ni ihi koe ni, ke whekumi ki hatokoni ke i taime. Ka te nau nofo ai pe pa mo i palopalema, o au ki hatu unga ko lahi e mau, o ne whakatupunga ai ngahi whaingata e ala whakatutamake tō taha o kuesia, pe a pehe whoki hono whamiri, pe a mohono ātakai. O mautui tai toi vei ua, ko i whaunga e sosai e Tonga, ai nofo a kāinga, o ku iai ai amanak lelei tene lava ke to'o ai awa he wahe o i whakaalu manuki mo i whakawhai ke i. Ko i mahu inga e nofe o whaaki a kāinga, he kua osi whakamooni i whakasainisi. Ko i taime o tau whakahoko ai ha ofa ki hataha kehe, o ku nei we i pe ai konga ho tau atamai pe ko i uto, Pleasure Center, ai o ku ne pule i e tau fia mo i ongo whakawhie maarie. Pea ikai ko ia pe ka kua whakamoni i he ngahi whakatotolo, ko e tau whai ofa ki haka kai kehe, o ku ne langa ia i a tek tau tolo ai loto toa, mo i loto lahi whiunga, pe he ki he loto fia mo i amanak lelei. Pa ku ne whakasi isi i ai o ngo i rifia mo mana wahe, pe he ki he kulukia mo i loto tau mia. Pa he wakai ki a tek nau tolu, i he tawhaaki e taha ai o nau mau ai ngahi o whapa mo i tokoni, o toi lahi ange ai nau fofonga mari pa mo fie mari e. Pe aku langa i o nau loto ke nau whakahoko hangawe ofa ta tau pe ki hatoi ni ike. Ko ia aku mau inga ke tau whakatoka ngai ai fuuiwi mālohi o ianga ofa i he nofo a kāinga. O fie mau ia ke tau nofo fe ofa o whani mo whailelei ki he taha kotoa pe. Pe ke tau fe whakamore aki. Ko e whanki to onga mo ui whaingofua mo ikai whakamore paanga ko eni. Ko e fuuiwi mālohi ia tene malawa ke whakaau e tau mua o whakaamu ki ai kawe inga whakamaman lahi o e tauni ke hake aki i e mo uilelei ai atamai ke inasi ai toko taha kotoa. Ko iau pehe, tai lelei ki mo tolu i he pongpongini, pia mo ki i pui tua ki he uhinga o e ahoni pa mohono kawe inga tua au whātu.
Tonga, ko e tau kawe inga ena ki he weekendi, ko iwi o e anga o wha i he nofo a kāinga. Ko whamana tua ia o e aho mo ilelei atamai o whakahaa kia e tau whi o whaaki. Kai he whainga maalia ko e ni, ko whaamu pe ke tuku ia ki he lea hoko, e whakahoko atuia i he whakafofonga me he health defect, Miss Shelley Thompson. Pa koe osi pēni, ko kole atu ki he a te migoia ai GMS Kolomotua, ke nau te mai. At this moment, I would like to invite Miss Shelley Thompson, the first Secretary for Health Defect in Tonga, to please give her special remarks.
Maloale. Good morning, and thank you for having me, everyone. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge God the Almighty, who sees us and He loves us, no matter what our mental health, or our poor health, or our good health. I would also like to acknowledge the leadership of the Honourable Minister for Health, Dr. Saya Piukala, who can't be with us today, and also the Acting Minister for Health, Lord Tui Fitu. Thank you, Reverend Daniela, also for the prayers this morning. I'd like to acknowledge the nobles of the realm who are here with us today. Dr. Anup, thank you very much. Also the Acting CEO for Health, Dr. Offa, and also Chief Nursing Officer, Sister Mele. And also I can see we've got many frontline staff here with us today. So thank you to those who do keep our communities safe and healthy. So to the Ministry of Health, Tonga Police, and Secretary-General of Red Cross who's here as well. And to our beautiful government middle school from Kolomatua. It's lovely to have you with us today as well. It's my privilege to be asked to speak here today to you all, among especially such distinguished and experienced speakers. I struggled to compose what I would say today. I either had too little to say or too much to say on a topic that is very close to all of our hearts and our minds. So I'll speak from the heart, and hopefully there will be a coherent story woven in there somewhere. So I'm Shelley Thompson. I'm the first Secretary Development at the Australian High Commission. So I manage a lot of the development partnerships between Australia and Tonga, and specifically in health and disability. So my experience is actually in disability inclusive development. So I've worked in the disability sector. I added it up the other day. For about 20 years now in Australia, I've been involved with the disability sector in some shape or form. But prior to working in international development for the Australian government, I worked as an occupational therapist and a support worker for people with disabilities. And this included people with mental health conditions as well. And some of my roles in Australia was specifically in the mental health wards we have in our hospitals in Australia. So I used this experience in DFAT. Corporately, I was on the Australian government in our Foreign Affairs and Trade. We have a mental health reference group in our department which develops DFAT's own mental health policies and strategies. I also use this experience in my international development work with partner governments and stakeholders as well. So as you can see, mental health is very close to my heart. So World Mental Health Day today follows World Suicide Prevention Day, which is marked in 60 countries on the 10th of September. Australia then has our own version called Are You OK Day on the 12th of September. This is an opportunity for people to ask each other in the workplace, are you okay? And to listen, noting that a conversation with someone can save a life. It can ease loneliness. It can let someone know that there's other people there and that you're there to listen. And so we marked this recently in the Australian High Commission and had a morning tea and spoke about the history of these days. And it was amazing. We had very open sharing amongst all of our staff, and what became very, very clear is that mental health is not a Palangi thing. It crosses all cultures, it crosses all countries, and it crosses all generations and all families. So many of us, Tongan or Australian, had stories about older generations in our family not understanding mental health. And I also want to reassure you that's not a Tongan thing and that's not a Palangi thing. So in Australia, my grandparents and my parents have struggled as well with mental health, but they've struggled to acknowledge, to understand, or to use the language to describe their mental health struggles. And luckily, over the years, with days like this, recognising it, we start to have a language in which we can describe and talk about these issues. So language is important. In generations gone, we didn't have the language. We would say things like, he was a bit funny, she was a bit hysterical, he had episodes, she had a breakdown. And this was the language that we had. And I'm sure in Tongan you also had this limited and often disrespectful language as well. But language matters. We know that mental health or mental ill health is a spectrum. We're all on it at one point in time, and it's a sliding scale. And it will change throughout our lifetime. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. So one thing I learnt from working in mental health services is all of us, unfortunately, are just one step away from poor mental health. In the mental health wards in Australia, you had mothers who'd just given birth, you had young children, you had adolescents in school, you had retired doctors as well, academics from university. It crossed all boundaries. So now with language, we've got the words to describe mental health conditions or our ways of feeling. We've got words such as anxiety, depression. We recognise postnatal depression. We recognise trauma. And at the end of the spectrum, we have the diagnosable conditions such as bipolar, psychosis, and schizoaffective disorder. And language is important because it gives us a way to openly have these discussions, to demystify mental health. My mother can now say, oh, I have anxiety in these situations. My father can now recognise he has trauma, childhood trauma, which has caused his depression. And so language can be liberating and freeing for us. It can be also very damaging and cause stigma and discrimination. So people with disabilities and people with mental health conditions, they tell us over and over again globally that it is stigma and discrimination and people's attitudes that are the biggest barriers that they face and the biggest challenges. It's not their disability, it's not their mental health condition, but it's the attitudes, the stigma, the discrimination from others in the community more generally. So it brings me to this year's theme, celebrating the power of community kindness. Language matters, attitudes matter, and kindness matters. So as a community, we can do so much with just a little kindness. I'd like to share a little kindness from the Australian community to the Tongan community. So coming out of COVID, globally, no one in the world is their best self. We've come through a devastating period of human history, and here in Tonga, we had hunga tonga, hunga hapai. Globally, we're still processing COVID and what happened to us over the last 3 years in our families. And here in Tonga, we're still processing hunga tonga. So Australia recognises this. And as part of our regional investments in health throughout the Pacific and Southeast Asia, we're continuing to look at ways in which we can not just support the health system for communicable and non-communicable diseases, but how do we include mental health support as well? So Australia has launched Partnerships for a Healthy Region, which is a 5-year program valued at $620 million over the Pacific and Asia, and it aims to improve health outcomes and mental health and well-being. So we're working with health partners currently to look at ways in which we can specifically target mental health to build the capacity of mental health services throughout the Pacific region. Because we recognise good mental health is a fundamental human right, just like this year's theme, and access to mental health services is a fundamental right as well. So in my work here in Tonga, I've been really excited to meet Tongan mental health practitioners who are working in Australia or New Zealand who are adapting and contextualising mental health models and services to Pacific and Tongan communities. Each of these individuals is excited to return to Tonga and bring their knowledge and skills back to the community mental health workforce here, which we hope to grow in the future. Australia will be working with Pacifica-led organisations to develop and grow mental health services here in Tonga, and we hope in other Pacific Island countries. We've already been investing in mental health services here. So our bilateral health partnership, where we work closely with the Ministry of Health, we funded the refurbishment of the mental health ward here in Tonga. And our partnership supports the Ministry of Health to conduct the outer island outreach missions, including the mental health outreach. We know how important and essential it is, especially for the communities in the outer islands. So I want to acknowledge and say thank you to the work of the Ministry of Health, and especially to Dr. Mapa Puloka and his team for the work they do with the community here. I mentioned earlier that I'm trained as an occupational therapist, and I worked in mental health services in Australia. The values of occupational therapy and the models we use match beautifully with this year's theme of celebrating the power of community kindness. For those who are unfamiliar with occupational therapy is focused on helping people do the occupations they need to do, no matter what their physical or mental condition. So occupational therapy can range from specialising in building modifications to make people's homes, schools, workplaces and the community more accessible, to prescribing people toilet chairs and assisting with bathing and dressing, to assisting with rehabilitation, to adapting the activities in people's lives and teaching them a new way to do their most meaningful activities. But as an occupational therapist, we treat the whole person. When we sit down with a new patient or a new client, we don't simply look at their medical condition. We ask about their lives, what they like to do, what they need to do, who is their family, what is their home and their workplace like, and what is important spiritually for them, what gives them meaning and purpose, and who is their community. So occupational therapy works from a holistic place, assisting our clients with all of these dimensions in our lives. A famous occupational therapy phrase that many of us use to lead our work is doing, being, belonging. What does this patient or client need to do? Who do they need to be? And how do they belong? How can we support them in their community? So occupational therapy specifically recognises that people are at their healthiest, both physically and mentally, when they are able to do what they need to do, what they want to do, and participate and belong in community. They're not just happier, but they're healthier too. So happiness and physical and mental health is intricately linked, as we all know. So I've worked with many disability and mental health advocacy and rights groups over the years, including in the Pacific. And what they want is understanding, acceptance, and to belong in the community, to be treated with kindness. So to finally end my long winding ramble today, I'd like to acknowledge the importance of celebrating and spreading the power of community kindness. We each individually have the power to really impact someone's mental health for the better, and as a community, we are incredibly powerful. So let's remember that language matters. Language is important and can impact. Choose kindness in your words. Attitudes matter. Attitudes are important and can have an impact. Let us all choose kindness in our attitudes to others. And belonging and community matters. Let's welcome and include those who have mental health challenges into our community and offer them kindness and belonging. Simply, community and kindness matters. So let's be kind to ourselves and to each other. So thank you for your time today and for allowing me to share some of myself with you. I'm very humbled to have spoken here today to everyone, especially on this very important day, World Mental Health Day. So a big malo a pito and ofa atu to you all.
Whanau ko me Latu, misa me ia korota koromodua. I back up going ko Gold Health Promoting School. Now bobo ia Moimoi.
Our school we strive to be a beacon of health and harmony. We join the health promoting school to inspire wellness as our golden rule. We created a nurturing space where students can flourish and embrace the pillars of health we hold so dear. In body, mind, and spirit, we will persevere. Our school supports a promoting program, guiding students to shine, oh yeah. With education and resources in our hands, we build a healthier future across the land. We teach the importance of being and nurture healthy habits as we believe. With healthy home and lunch, we urge to bring nutrition is the heart of our field. Mental health, a priority we share. With counseling and mindfulness we care. Create a safe space for emotion to flow, building resilience to help them grow. Our school supports a promoting program, guiding students to shine, oh yeah. With education and resources in our hands, we build a healthier future across the land. Our school supports a promoting program, guiding students education and resources in our hands. We build our healthier future. We build our healthier future. We build our healthier future across the land.
Whamalolahi atu ki he GMS kolomotua, peo ku whamawhana whanong ke leo e whanau. Hange pe ko ia koe tau kawe inga koe ahoni, ke tau manatua koe iwi o anga ofa, he nofo a ka inga, ka mata mau pe mei api, ta te whito ke oha ke tau whanau. Ko whiawhia i pe ko hi koe pureako koe ni a kolomotua, koe kuwhai ako ia he ku kei high schoolu, pea ko loto pe ke uhinga koe kawe inga o wike, lo se kuluka o kounga, ho toanga māku o ausia ahoni. Kai kehe, te tau whoki ke he tau ki polokalama, koe whamanatua mau pē tau ki kaweinga koe ni koe hi, ko mou tautu mai koe nā, mou mea mai koe nā, o kou sua tuk hange mou ite ita. Ka koe anga o whau, ka mata pē ho ki mari mari ke tawha aki, mo ho ki i lea halo watu ki ho kaunga api. Ka koe hoko ate tau ki polokalama, ko hi koe maho inga o e aho. I would like to first invite our guest of honor, WHO Country Liaison Officer to Tonga, Dr. Nuku'alofa. We really appreciate, as Dr. Fatukia have mentioned earlier, we really appreciate and we are grateful that you would like to take this responsibility of being the guest of honor with us here today. So, with this opportunity, I would like to hand over to Dr. Nuku'alofa for his guest of honor speech. Thank you.
I would like to acknowledge the presence of God amongst us. First Secretary of Health, DFAT, Mrs. Shelley Thompson, Reverend Tanelia Tamoa, all invited guests, the Uniformed Services, Red Cross, my dear community, and the dear children, Malo Lele. I'm very pleased and humbled actually that the World Mental Health this year is dedicated to the theme, Our Minds, Our Rights. Now, human rights and mental health actually go hand in hand. This theme recognizes that mental health is a human right issue. Everyone, wherever they are, of course, they must have a right to the highest attainable standard of mental health. It's a right, and rights to be protected from all mental health risks. Rights to be available, accessible, and acceptable and good quality care. So not only in the hospitals, but also in the communities, in your daily walks of life, in schools, in your houses, and also rights to liberty, independence, and inclusion in the community. Mental health is a basic human right for all people and all diverse cultures and all societies. And when you say the whole of society, what do you mean? It is the marginalized, it is the communities which are not mainstreamed. And as Shelley mentioned, mental health is a spectrum. It's not disease or infirmity, but it is the state of your mind. Your mental health is the most important thing for physical, spiritual, and other health, and they are all connected. I will go into some stories, but before that, I think having a mental health condition should never be a reason to deprive a person of their human rights or to exclude them from decisions of their own health. Because we say it's a person-centered care. We talk about patients, we talk about people deciding what they want to do, but the decisions for their own health, for mental disorders, also must be part of the response for the mental health. All over the world, mental health conditions continue to experience a wide range of human rights violations. And that's a fact. I will tell you stories a little later, but many are excluded from community lives and discriminated against. And as you mentioned, stigma and discrimination. Stigma and discrimination perhaps is the biggest barrier towards mental health and mental equity. WHO continues to work with its partners and ensure mental health is valued, promoted, and protected. And that urgent action is taken so that everyone can exercise their human rights and access quality mental health care they need. Of course, this year's thing, it talks about the national theme, which talks about power of community kindness, and I'll come to that. The reason why community kindness is so powerful and so important. And I will go a bit of freewheeling right now, and so all things simple doings can do miracles, actually. So we talk about mental, physical, and spiritual health too. And when you forgive, you see you're so relaxed. And let me start with a story 5 months ago when I came to Tonga. I came from many countries, of course. I've experienced conflict in Sudan, in Sri Lanka, in the Asian countries, Indochina, and I've experienced conflict for the last decade in Papua New Guinea. And imagine this island if they had 850 languages, not only Tongan, but 850, and nobody spoke to each other. What would happen? That was Papua New Guinea. And when I came 5 months ago to this happy island where everybody was going at a very nice speed, the Tongan traffic, and nobody would overtake anybody. I think and I found it so peaceful. And walking along the beaches and the shores, I found people very happy. And therefore, I think my stress was totally relieved. I was a really happy man. My mental health really improved. And I'll tell you stories about communities. So there was a huge project where we looked at people migrating from one country to the other, from conflict to a big city, and they were marginalized. They were having a chronic infection called HIV, as you know, people living with HIV. And I was trying to build communities to talk about community kindness, as we are talking today. And the first thing they told me is, sir, don't call us people living with HIV. I said, that's a very important point. Can you go and discuss with your communities and come back to me, what would you like to be called? Because that's what is important, language, and language is definitely important. They came back to me, and in their own language, they told us, call us friends, just friends. So children, you don't call people with mental disabilities or disorders, you don't stigmatize them, but call them your friends. That's what happened. And that project between two countries, one in conflict, one not in conflict, is actually called Friends of XX country. So we stopped calling them people living with HIV. The other thing about communities is it takes time for the communities to actually build a good community program. And you often see in school when you go, oh, this fellow is looking, well, he's a bit hassled, or his clothes are dirty, or he's really obese, or he's walking like that. That's a very bad language to use. Because there was another project with the Gates Foundation which actually looked at about 300,000 marginalized people. And these were really, really marginalized. That's why I'm saying the rights issue. The rights issue is if we don't recognize who is actually needing your community kindness, if you don't recognize and merge them in your community, we don't do much. So therefore, I think this is a very nice theme. So when they looked at these marginalized communities, they were very, very wary of what they were doing, their behavior, because they were marginalized. They had to earn money, earn their bread every day. They were very, very conscious of their looks, and they were very, very stigmatized and not acceptable to the community. But when you say a rights-based approach, the community understands that these are the marginalized people. We need to merge them with the community. We need to make them feel that they are part of the community. And so the projects, what we did with the Gates projects were, we didn't go directly into, okay, what is your health problem? What can I examine you physically? What is your mental health issues? No, we looked at what were they interested in? Some were interested in beauty, some were interested in, building good bodies, some were interested in spiritual discussions. So we made those groups, and over the years, of course, it took some time, they actually were merged with the community. And there were laws and policies, of course, which were changed. And therefore, we have in that country, in the passport, there are 3 genders. There is male, there is female, and there is transgender. I'm just saying that this is one of the things where we could manage to make sure that the community understood that these are our people, and they benefited from that. And the person also obviously benefited. So that's called a rights-based approach. And today's conditions of sustainable and equitable socio-economic development do leave these marginalized people behind. So be kind, and not today just because it's Mental Health Day, but do it every day. I think spiritual health is another issue which we must say is linked to mental health. And when I came to Tonga again, I heard the choir. The choir of Tonga is beautiful. And your people singing in the hymns, that's where you are having a community spirit and the glue to all health, physical, mental. And I'm happy to see Mr. Hepeti also from the education department here, besides the health. And it's so, mental health is not about only the Ministry of Health, it's about Ministry of Education, it's about Ministry of Socio-Economic Development, it's Ministry of Planning. And so mental health should be all-encompassing. It's another country I would like to talk about is something called, we have these development goals. We need to reach that particular, reduced deaths in the community, reduced hospital admissions in the community. But one country in the 1977, I think, called Kingdom of Bhutan, talked about gross national happiness. So instead of talking about mental health, they talked about happiness. And that became a gross national happiness index. And I think it talked about ecological sustainability, it talked about good governance, but it also talked about perseverance and promotion of a free and resilient culture. So now, of course, the Norwegian countries, the Scandinavian countries are supposed to be very high at the gross national happiness index. But I would say, in my last 5 months, you are pretty high in the scale there too. I can see this, I remember the Digicel corner on Friday evening, you can have nice songs here. It was almost rocking Saturday. So yeah, be happy. And I think let's move and let's do a social movement for action on mental health and well-being. Let's do a social movement. Let's talk about community kindness, but let's walk the talk. And I am sure the WHO will, and DFAT will, and donor partners will come together. And if you are happy, so it would be fine. All your disease, all your things will be gone. And you will be in the spectrum of the happiness index. And I wish you all well in the next year. And I hope to see Tonga and one of the islands be the happiest island in the world. What you have is sunshine. What you have is like no pollution. What you have is a traffic jam with 4 cars. Come on, guys. You're the most happiest people in the world, I would say. And we should probably evaluate them, shall we? And be the happiest island in the world, and all the best. And thank you for having me as the chief guest here. Thank you.
Tau asia mai ne to muia tau por kalama he a ko ni pa ku pa fia ko hi ko alpe ke ose tau por kalama kamata ke mo ki kata ko kamata ke mo hanga o nga a ki e tau kaveinga o weekendi to fa manato at pe hivi o yanga ofa I he nofo akainga kai ke he te o fa fe he ni ai pulenesi pot nga mo ui sista meleinu filise ke ne whakahoko atu ai lea whakamalo.
I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Almighty God who is in our presence and who has made today in this program possible. I would like to take up all the cultural salutation that has been done before me, and let me say a word of thanks. We are greatly honored, guest of honor, Dr. Anup Kurang, for you taking up our invitation to be the guest of honor today. We know that being the guest of honor invitation came a little bit late, but you took it up nicely and you took it up humbly, as mentioned before, and we are greatly appreciative of that. I know that you have mentioned that your mental health has gone really well here in Tonga, and so as the mental health of the Ministry of Health, when WHO is always saying yes to proposals. And so if that makes you happy, that also makes us happy too. So please keep on endorsing proposal and keep on supporting us, and we'll be smiling from sunrise to sundown. So thank you very much for supporting us and also for being the guest of honor. And to the First Secretary for Health DFED, Ms. Shirley Thompson, again, we are always smiling with the support of the DFED. And also thank you very much for supporting and assisting, funding today's program and the week also. So thank you very much for the experience that you have left us with. And I did not know that you are a mental health person. So instead, from my division, so it's good for me to seek your monetary fund, but I'll also seek your mental health and your disability expertise for the nurses. I don't know about OFA, but since I'm the first to ask, you should be taking up my proposal first. Thank you very much. O atane whamahalo lo to honga mo oni ki he tangata ik whai whekau, Reverend Daniela ta mo oa I he tari e whakawhi ko toa pek whawhai atu me pon ngau e mo ui. Ki hono tāpue kina whakalau maari e ngai polo kalama ko toa pek. Ke whakamahino ke tek mautolu, ko e ngahi lova ke he koe mo ngahi whanonga tau whai, o ke he peka o ku whie mao pe, ke tuku taha pe tau whakaukau, ko whetu pe taha arukia e tau lova, mo I tau whanonga. Whamalo atu I he tatak whakalau maari e aho, pau atena e whamalo ki he whawhawhonga me he aiongo ofisa me he pongau e polisi, pe he ki he kau ofisa malunga me he pongau e ako, ai puleanga pe he ki he siasi, atu heni ai whamalo ki he whawhawhonga pe a me he university o Whanua, pe he ki he kau whawhawhonga ko tā pe o kau wāwhenga o e aki, o ku tau kau whakataha I he ahakoni, hange ko e Tonga Red Cross, ko e Tonga Health Association, pia mo ki mo tolu ko tā pe ai ngahi kau taha,
o tau whengawe aki, ki hono pōpō aki, mo hono teke ki mua ai mo uilelei whakae atamai. O atu heni ai whamalolo to hounga ki he puleako o e Chema Esa kolomotuapa tau peia mo kolomu. Ke mo tāmai ai sipinga lelei, ke mui ki ai toenga o e whonua. Pako mea lelei whoke tau tokanga e kina e mo uilelei whakae atamai from an early stage. Pea oku pehe ai e whamaloa ka ting motolu lose pa pehe ke whanau ako, kau whai ako, ata e whamaloa ki he kau ofisa kolo, kau pule whakawahe kotoa pe. Koe ahoni whoki koe, aho ia o tau whamanatua ai toka ngai kina whakaiata mai. Pea koe mea mahu ingai ke tau ngau e whakataha. Hange koe whakamatala koe ia ai ongo whakaafe o e aho koe ni. Koe mea mahu inga ka te tau tolu ke o te tau whakawhai ke hei, ai si kakai koe ni o tau pehe o ku nau fie mau ai toko ni. Koe Mental Health World Day koe o aho ni tala mai ke tau hango o whakamahino pe tau hango whakailongai o ku iai e tō tonu ai taha kotoa pe ki he mo uilelei whakai atamai. O ki kai ke aha o tō tonu, paka o tō tonu, ke tau hango ta ofi ha taha, me hane mau, ai tokoni ki he whakawhakakau. O ko tau iwi mālohi ke tau teke pa tau pōpōwaki, pe au kamata e pōpōwaki koe ni me ha tau ngawe aki hangahilea, o ku ikai ke tau hango tu hifo e molale, pe tau hange o whakasituai e whahenga koe ni. O ku tau osisio ko tau pehe whonua e tai nim whele a ngahi palo pale ma. Tu kehe ange ai whaitoko na tapu mo o kaholo. Ka ko ngahi palo pale ma whakai whamili, ngahi kawenga o e aho, ngahi hiki koe ni ai ngahi koloa whakatau. O ku alu ai tuunga o e tau whakaukau, pak whe mau ke tau whe popo waki, tau whe tokoni aki. I hono hae atu mea tek tau tolu, hangahi olungaanga o kune whaka ai. Pani hango teke, ki he mo uilelei ai taha kotoa pe whakai atamai. Whaka osi ai whakamalo, atu ai whakamalo ki he televisione, papehe ki he retio, no whaka au atu ai polokalamani, ki he ope, pia kwai ai ofat, ki tek motol kotoa pe, ma mata mai he ope, ke tau mau ai whakaukau whakataha, ki he mau inga o wike koeni. Dr. Ofatu kia, ko e pule o e waanga aue ki tua, pea pehe ki ho timi mo e tahine MC o e aho whakamalo lahi atu, i he polokalama whakaofo ofa, mo e polokalama au ne hango tataki ki tau tolu, ke tau toe wā ofia ngai ngaue ai whale mahaki vai ola, pea mo e community, pea mo e ngahi potu ngaue ko toa pe, i tongani, ke tau wā ofia ngai hono toka ngai kina, ai mo ilelei whakai atamai tua o whātu.
O ko whaamu ke whamaro ia i pe ai tokoni whapaanga koi ana e whahoko mai mei he polokalama ko e THSSP3 ai o tau i hen whakatahai mo Claire Wellen ko lead advisor polokalama ko e aluat pe nia tau ko leia. Ka ko e kai ke na tau kamata pe mo eiki te te tau to e whaosi pe mo eiki ko ia o ko to e kole pe ai whainga mali e ko ni ke whakawhi i mai ai tangata ik whai whekau ke ne hanga o whaosi ai aho. Malo.
Kore peki mo tolu ku lawa mea hake ki olunga pe mo mea hake kotoa peke tau lotu ake vese taha. O e tolu hiwa taha vese whakaosi pe hako ati pe mo e keresi. Mo mea hake ke tau lotu. Tamatonga tu o ngau e ho, koloa ke whakamono lotu ki e ki mau wheke, mea popo ki he lotu ko maru i o maru. kresi o tau iki ko sisu klais. O whae o tua whio hi mo lau maari e maa oni oni. Ke ia te ki tau tolu ko toa pe ia o tangata. Amen. Amen.
Ko ia e honi kono whamana tui. Ai aho mo le prada mai a mamani ia hon po ko ngai puno ko toa I mamani pa kwa mo to ngani ka venga fo mama mai ko ia. Ko e mo le prada mai ko to tonu ia a tangata fa lu fua. Pe po ki ka venga fo puno ko ia to ngani ko celebrating the power of community kindness ivi oenga ofa I no fo a kainga. Padong ni out there to padong nga ile mari ko ia ngai me mau ngai tau to me ai ke o na hoko ai mo le fo adamai ko par pare mai pe ko fo luma ki a pe fo mama he ia na to tau ko ke nga o a ke ile a ko me nga o la abu do ia ke te kon ki ta ba ko ni ka voi padong e ko me he Broadcom he a ni ko a filia paia pita da fo ko le me sak fa mo ki o me Digicel Nuku'alofa ko sa Slovakia mo mea